So I want you to think about something that you're holding on to, something that you can't let go of, a pattern, a behavior, a person, the past, a situation, whatever it is that you are holding on to and that you cannot seem to let go. Welcome to the StayiN Wild and Well podcast. My name is riN, and my greatest accomplishment is being alive. Here we talk about life's journey, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, all things mental health, body, mind, and spirit. We share wild stories and keeping your wild alive while staying well. You want to let it go, but you're still holding on so tightly. This is what our brain does. This is our brain's number one job. It is to maintain a sense of security and a sense of safety. And you know that you've probably heard that the reason you're holding on to this thing, the reason you're doing this behavior is because it is serving you in some sort of way. And if you are like me, people have told you your whole life, be kind to yourself, have compassion. This is your brain's way of protecting you, and it's serving you in some way. And your job is to figure out what it is doing and how it is serving you. And God, when people said this to me, I would be so frustrated. I would be so annoyed because it's like, yeah, obviously it's serving me, but I don't want it. It's disrupting me. And it serves us until it no longer does. Right? Like it's serving us until it starts to sort of work against us. So when we're told to figure out why it's serving us and we don't actually know because we're still sort of caught within it, we're in those two different realms of like the level of awareness that sees the destruction it's creating, and then also that awareness of knowing, well, it's doing something for me, otherwise I wouldn't be continuing doing it. It's really hard to understand and decipher what it is doing for us. And today I'm going to tell you what your behavior, what your pattern, what you're holding on to is actually doing for you, and how I discovered what mine was doing for me. All right, I'm going to dive right in. I was holding on, like a lot had happened in the past year, and when we've gone through trauma, when we've gone through grief, when we've gone through anything, our brain searches for things to help us move through the grief that we're going through. And that can look different for everyone. For me, it showed up in multiple ways. It showed up in rumination. It showed up in reassurance seeking. It showed up in talking about the same thing over and over again. It showed up as daydreaming. It showed up as listening to the same sad songs and reminiscing while I drive and listen to the music. It showed up by rereading things that maybe I shouldn't be. It showed up as my OCD. And for those of you who know, I have been challenged with OCD and am in active recovery, but it showed up as popping its little beady head out and trying to get me looping in on certain things again, whether that be behavioral or thought patterns over and over and over. And I saw it and I was so frustrated because I was aware the way the OCD was kind of creeping in. But when it came to the other elements and the things I was holding on to, I mean, that's a process of grief. So if you are moving through some level of grief, may that be a physical death, may that be a breakup or a loss of a friendship, may that be something that happened at work, any sort of grief, because everybody's grief and level of grief shows up differently. When you're moving through it, there are layers and there are different emotions that you move through. I thought that the further along I had gotten in my grief, the better I would feel. But it turns out I was starting to feel worse. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, I was having a meltdown. What is happening? Why am I feeling worse? I should be feeling better by now. I should be over this situation. And I was shooting all over myself. And if you are shooting all over yourself, to just stop. We should not be shitting all over ourselves. And here I am saying we should not be shitting all over ourselves, adding another should. We should try and allow ourselves to just be. And it's hard to just be. But when we have a dictator in our minds telling us how we should be and how we should show up, it really makes it hard to experience what we are going through from a space of clarity, from a space of allowance, from a space of healing, because we're no longer in our bodies and instead we're somewhere else thinking about all the ways we should be showing up. But that is where I was, right? I was like, this shouldn't be happening. And I'm sure if you're moving through something like grief or holding on or having sticky patterns that you don't want, that you know aren't serving you, you might be a dictator and be telling yourself that these things should not be showing up in your life, or guilting yourself or shaming yourself for the way you feel. And like I said, as time was moving on, I was like, what the heck is happening? I don't want to be feeling this right now. I do not want to be crying more than I was crying when it first started. I don't want to be feeling this uncomfortability within my own body where it almost feels unbearable to be living in here. What is happening? What was happening, friends, and what I'm here to share and hope that it awakens something within you, is that I was letting go. When we begin to let go of the things that we are holding on to, we start to feel worse. We start to feel worse. So, for example, if you are moving through a breakup and you are letting that person go, you will start to feel worse before you feel better. Not the grieving part of them and that part where it's almost like the shock of your system, where it's like, oh my God, okay, this relationship is no longer, and there's the initial shock and the crying and the emotions that go with it. No, this is the part where I'm talking about you're starting to understand, you're starting to accept, and you're starting to let go. When you begin to change patterns or behaviors, maybe this is for you if you are moving through some sort of addiction, or if you were like me and using your OCD as a coping mechanism and you are letting go of those coping behaviors, it is going to feel worse. It is going to feel so much harder. If there is a death or a passing of somebody and it has been over a year and you are crying more now than you were crying when it first happened, the shock has gone away, the changes have landed in your body, it's feeling worse. This is because every piece that we hold on to, the relationship, the person, the friendship, the loss because someone has passed away, the addiction, the behavior, the food, the shopping, the social media, whatever outlet you can connect yourself to right now, the holding on itself is a level of safety. Like I said, our brain's number one job is to keep us safe. And if our brain's number one job is to keep us safe, letting go is like a free fall. Where am I going? What is there for you to land on? So we hold on to our loss and our grief and the things that make us feel safe and make us feel better. Example, when we are going through a breakup, you might be holding on to the memory of that person because it's something that keeps you close to them. It is also something that is familiar. It also keeps that part of the relationship alive. And the same thing goes with the death or a loss of somebody, keeping on and holding on, continuing to hold on to that person. Yes, the memory is beautiful of them, but accepting and meeting yourself at a different level and understanding their passing is very different than holding on and gripping on to their memory for dear life, because when we let go of that part in that memory, it feels like a death and there's nothing to hold on to. If it is an addiction and you are letting go of that addiction has been serving you. That addiction has been protecting you. That addiction has been savior to you. So letting it go is going to feel like a free fall. All of this is going to feel worse. The dopamine that you receive from scrolling on social media, whatever it is that you have been trying to change, when you begin to let it go, it feels worse because it has been protecting you. So when somebody says that this thing that you're holding on to is serving you in some sort of way, it is serving you from a level of safety. And that is all of us. What type of safety it is that you are looking for is dependent on you as an individual, whatever that safety looks like. All I can tell you and promise you right now is that our brains are all searching for safety, and we will do whatever we can in order to obtain that safety, meaning holding on to the memory, hanging out with friends and putting ourselves in situations that bring us community, even if we don't feel like we belong, because we somehow feel safe within that moment, showing up differently than who we actually are in order to feel safe because we are accepted and loved. You can choose and put this safety umbrella onto anything. The truth is, somewhere along the way in our lives, we were born feeling content. We were born going through the biggest challenge of our lives, pushing ourselves out of that birth canal and moving into the unknown. We don't even realize now, because we have forgotten that moment, how much adversity and how much challenge we had faced in order to push ourselves out of a space of comfort into the unknown and look these parents in the eyes and be like, you're gonna protect me? Are you gonna protect me? Because I have no idea what's happening here, right? And then we develop this like safety and reliance on these other people to help nurture and take care of us. And often we never learned how to take care of ourselves. We never learned how to adopt a level of safety within our bodies. So in some senses, you were never taught, or perhaps you were taught, and along the way, society came in, life came in, traumas came in, life happened, and you lost your safety. So now you have been on this never-ending search in a subconscious sense, right? It's not conscious. No one would ever do this consciously. Subconsciously, searching for safety and finding it in places that worked until it didn't, served you until it no longer, holding on to something that you think is bringing you some sort of comfort. And I guess like for me, what I realized was, oh my goodness, and I'm like, this is why I have to share this with you. As I was releasing an individual from my life and letting them go, and as I was letting my coping mechanisms go, and as my entire life had flipped upside down and it quite literally felt like the rug was ripped out from underneath me, there was nothing for me to grasp onto anymore, because I was letting go of the coping mechanisms. I was letting go of the holding on to these people. I was letting go of the friendships, everything I was letting go of. And I was like, oh, this is why it feels worse than what it originally felt like, because the original hit was the shock, was the emotion, was the trying to find your balance, was the search for comfort. Okay, I'm going to listen to the song and connect and tune in. I'm going to think about this memory. That was the comfort it grasped onto in the turbulence of what had happened. Maybe in the turbulence of your life, it was the addiction you grabbed onto. It was that shopping spree that you do to make yourself feel better and buy the fancy clothes, and it works until it doesn't. When we have gone through something, our brain is like, you need to feel safe right now. So you're going to grab onto whatever you can, and you're going to continue to do this and grab onto this until you realize, maybe this isn't working for me. In my sense, I was like, this isn't working for me anymore. And also there was so much pain happening that the things that I would naturally gravitate to, like the song that used to make me feel good, suddenly wasn't making me feel good anymore, because there was a natural progression of me letting go, and I didn't even realize it was happening. So that is another layer, right? You could be letting go and you didn't even realize you were letting go. You didn't even realize it was happening, but it was. You were slowly letting go, and a part of that let go was like, okay, the safety is starting to slip away. Listening to that song isn't hitting you in the way that it once did. Thinking about that person isn't bringing you that closeness and that connection that it once did. The behavior that you're letting go, because God, it doesn't even feel good to do anymore, isn't making you feel good. So the safety is what you had been clinging on to. So when somebody says to you, the reason you're showing up in this behavior, the reason you're acting this way, the reason you're clinging on to this person is it's serving you, and your job is to discover why it is serving you, it is because it is a level of safety. Now, what is this safety doing for us? Okay, we get it. We get it. This is safety. We understand. Well, the holding on and the clinging on to this safety is that it's providing you avoidance. You are avoiding yourself. The very thing that you need to do in order to feel better is recreate and generate safety within yourself. But because the brain is trying to protect you, it's moving you further away from yourself. And you see, this is why the perpetual cycle continues. It pulls you away from your feelings, you cope, you deal, you hold on so tightly, avoiding what you are moving through, avoiding yourself, and then it continues to spiral, right? Like the feeling comes, you go to the attachment no longer works, you start to feel again, you go back to that attachment. The very thing that you need to do in order to overcome this person, this circumstance, this thing, is understand that they are providing you some level of safety. What that looks like for you is for you to discover or work with somebody. This is what I work on with my clients and dive deep into. What is the safety within it? What is it that I'm looking for? What is it, that safety that I'm cultivating from holding on to this or acting out in this way or doing this behavior or showing up like this? And as we start to understand this, our job is to start to generate the safety within ourselves. Now, a great example of this is like, okay, if I'm feeling lonely and I turn on this song and I go to think about this person and they bring me that comfort and that connection, my job is to start to generate that safety within myself. What type of music could I tune into instead of that song that used to make me think of them? What song can I listen to that maybe empowers me? Or in my case, I've listened to like a very spiritual song that connects me to my inner knowing, and just I can look at the situation from a place of acceptance and know that I have the strength within myself and generate the safety within myself and a connection that I was looking for in here and no longer out here. In terms of my OCD behaviors and maybe the patterns that were showing up, it is truly resisting them and feeling the uncomfort and getting used to feeling uncomfortable, as shitty as it is. Nobody wants to feel uncomfort, but sitting in that deep uncomfort where your body is wanting to go grab something, do something, ritual behavior that it's going to provide you some sort of comfort, and feeling the discomfort and safety starts to develop, because the more you sit in that discomfort, the brain is like, oh, I'm okay. Oh, I can get through this. And you're actually allowing yourself to feel. And that's the most challenging part of all of this, right? Is the very thing that we've been running from, is the very thing that we need to do in order to start to feel better. So your lesson for today, I'm going to take a sip of my tea so that I can clear my throat. Your lesson today is that when somebody tells you that the thing that you're holding on to, the thing that you can't let go of, and you insert whatever it is for you, person, behavior, pattern, thing, whatever. When they tell you that it is serving you in some way and that is why it continues to show up, and your job is to discover how it is serving you, I am telling you that it is serving you from a space of safety, because scientifically, from a neuroscience perspective, from an evolutionary perspective, our brain's number one job is to keep us safe. Our brain's job is not to look at what necessarily is better for us, because often change is what's better for us, but the brain doesn't necessarily like that change because it wants to stay safe and comfortable. It is going to do whatever it possibly can, and it will reach for whatever it can in order to keep you safe. Your job is to deep dive and get into the nitty gritty and the darkness and all that stuff that is not fun. I'm telling you, as I'm talking light about it, is not fun. Is going to be full of tears. It's going to be full of heavy emotions. It's going to be feeling the pulsating of the body as the anxiety is moving through you. It is going to be shaking it off in somatic ways. It is going to be recognizing that your brain might be logical, but your heart might be feeling something else, and they're not even matching up. Your job is to discover what is it within this piece of safety for you that you're looking for, and how can you generate that safety within yourself. And it is going to be one of the most uncomfortable things that you could ever do. But as you do that, and as you recreate and generate the safety within your body, this beautiful sense of freedom comes. This lack of attachment comes. Suddenly, you're not a prisoner to the things that you do. You are able to sit in awareness and see it. You're able to start to feel your feelings, the very thing that we run away from. And you are starting to feel freedom, true freedom, the let go. So even though it might feel like, holy shit, I'm scared, this feels like a free fall as I let everything go, I'm afraid to hit the bottom, that is okay. You might hit the bottom, but the thing about the bottom is that you're the rubble on the ground. And when you are the rubble on the ground, this is where you start to build your foundation. This is where you let go of all the things that brought you comfort, all the false senses of safety that you had developed over the years, and you start to build in a space of truth, true friendships, true connection, true healthy levels of dopamine from natural sources, a reliance on self, the ability to know when to reach out in community and to both share some of the pain that you're going through and grow in this life together. You start to cultivate a life that feels so good to your soul, that isn't wrapped up in the imprisonment of coping behaviors that you know are no longer serving you and keeping you stuck. The power is all within you. And the lesson here is you gotta feel your feelings.